continue.
Today we're going to talk about the integration of the divine into everyday life and how financial success plays into it. So, Nick, I was wondering, how do you integrate divine into working every day? Because it can get so distracting when you get back into the world and your job and with other people. And what do you do to keep the divine present?
I mean, it's true, today's environment, a lot of people are misguided, and their value systems are based on God knows what. So, and we all have some faith, or some system, some church or temple that we go to. If you really look deep within it, the information is there in your own faith. But where it becomes a little harder for people is trying to integrate into day-to-day life. But it can be done. It can be done. Because you're trying to, it's a very fine balancing act that we have to go through, that how do I practice my faith, but at the same time protect myself from toxicity that comes around from office environment or sometimes very difficult relatives. It can be done. It's very much similar to our health, because we are eating healthy, but we are also protecting ourselves from bacteria.
So how can you feel, like when you're working and when you're doing things, how do you feel the divine in that when you're doing the most ordinary things?
The trick for all of us is, of course, you have to go deeper into your spiritual practices, and first thing it does for you, it makes you more aware and more sensitive to be able to notice that. And it is sad that if people are not even able to notice, because now they become insensitive. So once you become sensitive, then the issue is, how do I deal with all the signals, negative signals I get from other people? Which is very similar to navigating through a traffic jam. And sometimes for own protection, for example, you need the job, but you don't have to take everything they say at the office space seriously and allow it to stick to you. So yes, we can talk about these things in a very common sense and today's terms. But the biggest struggle in my opinion, comes that when people buy into scriptology or churchianity, and then they are hung up with those specific technical words and don't move forward and don't think in terms of their own language that they understand and practice day to day. Because you start with the church, but later on you have to bring church into your house and into day-to-day activity of everything that you're doing. And there's no exceptions.
So give me an example of how you do that. And especially if you're sensitive and you're feeling this in the world, then what do you do?
Rule number one is, for all of us, is when we become sensitive, we also need to learn how to protect ourselves. Mentally, emotionally, and so many different ways. Like, for example, you will not leave your child out on the street open to the environment or some bacteriological attack. It's the same way we have to protect our hearts and our minds and attention. That at some point we have to say, look, I need the job, but I am not going to take the toxic verbiage or thought patterns or behavior seriously and watch it go by. But internally focus on your spiritual practices, and your attention and your thoughts and your feelings still need to be involved with whatever your faith is. And what happens is, if you do it long enough, what happens is this becomes a secondary thing, negative thing becomes a secondary thing, and internally when you're continuously remembering God's name or Jesus' name or Buddha's name, then that becomes the mainstream thing. And this appears like a shadow and stops to bother you. It can be done.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, probably have to leave the financial for another talk, because this, and I know there's more to get into in this too.
Okay, so next tape we will talk about the aspects of spirituality and how do you deal with finances, because that is all very important to us today.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a lot of spiritual material and religious material misunderstood or taken out of context. Thank you. Well, that went down very, very fast.
The only thing.
Oh shoot, this thing.
It's done.